For the stockbroker in your life, you might appreciate the Mod Collection's newest design. It's going up, or as they call it, Aero Nouveau. It reminds me a lot of another one that was pretty cool but didn't find a buyer very quickly, where the front it just looks like a black Les Paul Custom, but then on the back side of the neck they had this interesting ribbon design, which continued on to the back of the body. You can kind of see what I'm getting at there. It just reminds me of like cycling gear, something sports related, with its white lime greenish yellow with more of a, I would say, a subdued blue and or green hue on the outside for the main finish, but then it looks like we're doing a red back on this with a straight up Les Paul custom style pickguard. However, this is a Les Paul standard. But hey, that's cool to match our yellow stripes. They sprayed the Gibson logo over in yellow too. And as expected, just a complete cherry back. They also just had a regular studio known as Viceroy. First gazing upon this one, I thought it might be a very dark brown finish, but looking here, it appears to be a flat satin black. However, look closely along the edges. Not only is it red, but we've got some sort of a brown layer too. But it actually appears to be 3 different stripes, a thick, medium, and thin. Then you get the red in between there, and then, oh, hold the phone. There's a little bit of brown here. Oh, looks like the fun ends there. It's just the red back. Our next one's advertised as a 56 reissue in sugar blue. Appears to be your basic double P90 ABR1 equipped reissue. It's a very heavy metallic flake blue burst with a black border. However, keep in mind that is a $2,000 premium for that. We'll have to see if there's anything else that makes this one special. Looks like we got the low logo on the headstock and the omission of any silkscreen and a very light colored mahogany back. I kind of like that though on this particular guitar. It looks like a peach. I was shocked to see this, a non-reverse Firebird in the Mod Collection as Velvet Void. First thing you might notice is, hey, we've got what? Split parallelogram inlays on a non-reverse Firebird. You don't see that every day, and if you get really close, that appears to be a black semi-sparkle pickguard on top of a very dark purple. However, these have actually been in shops as made-to-measure custom orders. I first saw Guitar Center get these, but that's why you have the humbucker pickups and those intricate inlays. It's likely one of these that was just botched. So they decided to give it a new coat of paint, throw some pickup covers on there, gave it a matching headstock, and call it a day. Of course, after adding the Mod Collection's touch back here. That one's not too bad at a $400 premium. However, I'd always thought those were kind of expensive to start with. This SG is appropriately named the Sweet Tea. It's a bit of an old-timey harvest burst going on here with an ambered border, moto pickguard, yellow interior, and they just gave you the zebra bobbins just for fun. It's a unique coloration, but don't check out just yet. I think there's some other interesting things, such as a matching headstock as far as also tinting over your logos. And they gave you a Pearloy truss rod cover, but what you actually need to look at is your fretboard. That is EVO gold fret wire on this thing too. So in many ways, they're playing off the gold on the body and the bronzed outer with the rosewood fretboard and the golden frets. And then I guess you could even say the moto with the acrylic for the inlays. But I really like the back on this one. They did a fantastic job on that neck. They've got that perfect burst shape here. Then that continues on to the rest of that, including darkening off your heel and then doing the same paint job on the back with, again, matching moto. Next, we had a 335 in grape graphite. As the name implies, it's a very dark purple hue and appears to be satin in nature. So if you want something that looks black at most angles, but is actually purple, maybe that will speak to you. That's crazy. Every different photo I look at, it's like, is it black? Is it purple? I'll have to really zoom in on this headstock. I don't think it's matching. That just looks like it's straight black, but that's actually a great comparison point here because you can see that dusky purple over here. And all that also continues onto our back. The lefty's got some fun with a 59 reissue. It's a rustic dark plum wine burst, essentially. There is actually a dark border along the edges, as well as our reflector knobs and uncovered pickups, slightly patinaed to our hardware with the ambered over binding, very spooky. But just like the binding, the clear coat is tinted, so you get that matching onto your headstock as well. And then for the back, it's your typical semi-hollow paint job, where they give you the same finish back here, but then just leave your neck that dark mahogany color. And at first glance, this one seems really tame. Tobacco Desert. It just looks like any 50s, 60s Les Paul standard with a little bit of a tri-burst finish to it. However, if you zoom up here, we can see that they played with the neck a little bit, as that's really the only crazy thing I see on this. And as expected, yeah, it's kind of like those 335s we were just talking about. They just gave that treatment to a Les Paul. In fact, I think the EU has my favorite one this week, Jasmine Halo Jr. While it might be a satin flat black finish on the top, it has that light lavender pinstripe around it, acting as a binding-like effect, and then you get this kind of mauve pickguard, which oddly matches the rosewood on the fretboard pretty nice. But then, look at your edges. They're a nice dark metallic purple. I would love to see a run of juniors done like this. I think there's a potential to sell like 400 plus of these. Even if that's all they did. A purple Gibson mother of pearl logo wouldn't hurt either, but this one was left alone. Flipping it over to the back, there's a stinger, and you get the continuation of all the lavender. That's not even your normal stinger. If you zoom in here, you've got that continuation of a pinstripe layer just to amplify the effect of it, and that's a super long one. 1,700 euro, yeah. Not surprised this one found a home. Then we have the Duality Blue 60 Standard. It's a dark aqua blue top with the red back, and to play off that, you get the red knobs. And they modified your tuner tips to the ebony ones. But besides just being a cherry back, it looks like it's a two-piece body, and you've got a little bit of chatoyant dancing on this side. And if you're thinking that's our red pinstriping layer, nah, that's just the red coloring covering over the binding. It happens. In fact, if you come over here, there's a little bit of gold peeking through. That could also just be the natural maple. And if things are just too crazy for you this week, there was just a straight up deep burgundy 60 Standard. I don't hate it. Put a black pickguard on it, and it looks pretty nice. But with your metallic burgundy top, they just left it see-through cherry back. So if this was ever made a production color, that kind of gives you the best of both worlds. If you previously had issues choosing between metallic paint or wood grain. But now the Gibson demo shop, let's just say these guys were busy this week. A whole page and a half of new offerings. What stood out to me was this Dirty Lemon Burst in satin. It just had a very plain top, rustic looking colors. They had a Silver Burst Flying V custom, and we had the return of the gravity defying stand. What is going on with this thing? That V's sitting all crooked. The string swing yoke must be over tightened on that one, because it wasn't just this photo this time. They also had the sparkly purple Explorer custom defying the laws, but I believe that to be the same stand if anybody wants to match up the wood grains. I've already closed out that other tab. But just for reference to the Martians out there, that's how a Flying V should hang from a stand. But there was the 60 Standard in Honeyburst. To me, that looks like one of the AMS exclusives. It just wasn't super quilty, but that is a beautiful top on it. The Siberian Tiger's kind of scary looking. That's an interesting double stain top. It's really that black switch tip and the zebra colors that brings out the dark nature of it. It transforms the look exponentially before just going completely black on the back. Speaking of Explorer Customs, there was a white sparkle this week. However, it has a matching headstock. I feel like we had one of those a couple of weeks ago, but you don't see it every day, especially for not a premium at all. They had two 63 reissue custom shot Firebirds that were sent to the demo shop because they got all dinged up on the edge. I don't know if it was like a hanger at the factory or just dinged against instruments, or maybe it was returned. I suppose, looking at it, that looks like some sort of a chemical reaction. But if you're into fancy acoustics, they also had a Doves in Flight in the shop. $7,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but hey, it's a super fancy model. If you like etch tuners and big mother of pearl inlays with designs drawn onto them and figured backsides. This was a really nice top for a 59 reissue. Can't go wrong there. There was also a super heavily ambered antique white, as they call it, for $5,000. This 335 Spearmint was endearing. To be honest, I'm a little bit torn. Is this wood grain or is it reflections on the top? Because I could believe it either way. So I scrolled through the photos, and sure enough, the full body shot also shows the same stuff. So it might be in the grain. Looking on the back, I get it. They're maple veneers, essentially. Multiply construction. I mean, you can kind of see how you might get that, but it's just weird how it accentuates the controls. Of the new colors of the 335, the Spearmint was the most attractive to me. So I'd review the Ugly Duckling if that's actually how it looks. I'm pretty sure that's like $800 off too. But next, a plain top 58 reissue. I wanted to bring this one up because it looks like they might be experimenting aging the aniline dyes. Because look, clearly aniline dyed, but bled out. And then if you go up the neck, you can see, hey, the redness starts to stay. You almost have a complete aniline dyed stinger here. But it wasn't just this one. You could find that exact same phenomenon on this Washed Cherry VOS 59, where the body was faded out. However, as you get to the back, you see just cherry headstock. They had to have been doing some experimentation for there to be more than one. Or maybe somebody punched a hole in the wall and they didn't notice that there was sunlight coming in and it just ruined a batch of guitars. That might be a bit far-fetched. But this was a great top on a Poppy Burst. Give the lefties some more love with an SJ200. You know, find lefty acoustics every day. As well as a lefty SG. Looking freaky to us righties. Oh, a nice eye formation on the back. A crazy sparkly orange 56 reissue. You know what, now that I think about it, I believe this is a Sweetwater exclusive. They got a batch of these. Except for theirs, if I remember correctly, was only one pickup. So I wonder if this one got routed out for that neck or not. Or it's just a runoff. They thought, hey, what they're doing's cool. Let's do it too. We also had one of those Gibson.com exclusive mini humbucker neck P90 combinations. This was another really interesting one. Regular Les Paul Studio with a botched paint job, where the blue stain really took just in like a V formation. If I ordered one and I saw the photos were complete blue, nice flame top, yeah, I would be pretty upset to get this. However, seeing it in the demo shop, knowing what to expect, it's endearing. I do like it in a this is a weird one-off type thing. And to accentuate it, they just put the blue pickup rings and a clear pick guard. Make some lemonades out of the lemons. And it's got some decent figuring on the back and was marked a mod. This SG got some cream plastics put onto it and was omitted of a pick guard with some interesting wood grain along the edges. And oh no, small button tuners. And then I was trying to figure out why someone bought this. $17.99. This is a Guitar Center exclusive. It normally comes with black chrome covers on the pickups, but nothing else was really modified about this outside of the pickup selection from these stock examples. But I think this might have actually been a Guitar Center early prototype because the serial number even predates the early example that I had documented. But okay, I guess it does have a formal hard shell case. So you're technically getting a discount for that. But if you're sad you missed out, I have this on my website for a pretty good deal. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.